Okay, so this is my first ever phone review, and it's not a phone that I'd actually thought I'd be reviewing in doing this channel, but this is a phone that I think takes a nice, new, refreshing way of looking at what a smartphone does and is. It's one that's simple, it's really clean, and most importantly, incredibly affordable. It is, of course, the Google Pixel 4a. So if you like this review, if you like the content that is on my channel, and you want to see more of it, obviously you can press the subscribe button, which is like down here. And also let me know your thoughts of the Pixel lineup, and if you want to see other phone reviews in the future. So let's jump into the review. So to try and make it as simple and easy for you to watch at home, I split the review up into a few sections. First, we'll talk about the build quality and the design, and how does it fare up for the price that you're actually paying. Secondly, and probably one of the most important features that people now look for on a device, and that is the camera and how good it is. And then lastly, performance and overall thoughts of the Pixel, and overall, would you pick one up if this is a sort of phone that you're looking for? So the Google Pixel 4a has actually been out for about 2 months, but it's only recently dropped in the UK, kind of along with the Pixel 4a 5G and the Google Pixel 5. So it does mean that I've seen quite a lot of videos about this phone before it actually got here, but it was really good to actually get it in hand and really review it. So about the build quality. Now, if you have seen some of those videos like I have, one of the main talking points and discussions that pretty much every single person brings up is the fact that this phone is made out of plastic. But until you actually get it in your hands, it's pretty difficult to describe how it actually feels, because not all plastics are created equally. This really isn't a low-grade plastic, so the term plastic can have negative connotations, and this is actually a really good version and use of the material. Now, it's not a low-grade plastic, but nor is it the build quality that you would associate a £1,000 smartphone with. So you don't get the materials like on my iPhone, which is glass and aluminium that the majority of the phone is made up of. You obviously have glass at the front, but then this plastic polycarbonate use on the back, and it's kind of quite soft touch to feel. And if you compare it to something like a PlayStation controller, which is plastic, you can definitely tell that this is much better grade. I would say it's a really nice halfway house, and actually using this material, one of the main benefits is it actually keeps the weight down. In a world and a market where we're seeing more and more phones get heavier and bigger, this takes a nice refreshing look at what a smartphone can be, lightweight and portable, which is what a phone should be. And one of the things that I think most smartphone users do now is put a nice case on this. And in reality, once you put a case on it, well, you're only ever going to feel what the case feels like. So while you're saving the money on the phone, maybe spend a little bit more money on the case, and then you have a premium feeling device. Somewhere I totally feel that Google outperformed the price tag is with the display. The display is a gorgeous 5-inch 1080p AMOLED always on display, and it packs a huge PPI of 441 pixels per inch, and that's much higher than some of its rivals like the iPhone SE. It's a really sharp display, and I know there were a few gripes about the last gen Pixels and some of the issues with the display, but in 2 weeks of using this phone, I've had no issues with the display whatsoever. Actually, looking at it overall, with its bezel-less design and really clean Android UI, this is a really nice experience to use as a phone. And being on iOS my entire adult life, it was actually quite nice to see something slightly different. So one of the main features I would say is the always on display. It was really nice to be able to see the notifications without having to turn on the phone or unlock it, but just to know that I'd had some Instagram notifications and things like the weather and little touches like that were actually a really nice benefit that I would love to see come to iOS one day. People just say I should buy Android. One part of the display that's obviously quite apparent is also the hole punch. The hole punch is in the top left and obviously houses the front-facing camera. Similar to the notch on an iPhone and many other devices now with larger and larger displays, it is something that I think you just get used to. Watching even full screen videos on Netflix and YouTube is not something I necessarily really realised. You quite quickly forget that it's there, and the only real time is probably on a white background and you have that little black dot in the bottom left. But overall, complete user experience, I would say this really isn't something to ever worry about. One part of the design of the phone which I wish they had maybe slightly changed is just the position of the volume rocker. I think it would have been a better design decision to have the power button, let's say, on the right and the volume rocker on the left, but I guess that's just one of the downsides to the phone. One area of the exterior of the phone that I don't think they made a mistake with was the positioning of the fingerprint reader. Where they placed it is on the back, it's very Google, and I think it works really well. Especially at this time where we're all having to wear masks. I mentioned it on my previous iPhone video, I think they missed a touch putting Touch ID on, whereas this fingerprint reader is really, really handy and incredibly responsive. Right, okay, so the main staple of a Google phone, and that is the camera. And if you've done any research of this phone so far, you know that everybody universally says this is a brilliant camera. And it is. For a £350 phone, I'm absolutely stunned at how good this performs as a almost standalone camera. It's quickly accessible just with a double tap of the power button, and you're presented with a very unique and basic UI, quite similar to what you would see on iOS, and coming from iOS, it felt very, very natural. Now, the two cameras that I have to hand are this one that I'm recording on now, which is a full frame Sony mirrorless camera, so it would be pretty, unfair, I would say, to compare it to my Sony. But another device that I do own and which I did compare it to is the iPhone XS. Now, at the time, the iPhone XS was a flagship £1,200 phone, and yes, there have been criticisms of that camera, but the reason I still wanted to make the comparison is for the price. Some people still might opt to go for a used iPhone XS, and I just wanted to see what the comparisons were with brand new tech from Google compared to slightly older from Apple, and it would be really unfair to compare it to a Sony a7 III. Unfair, really. So comparing the Pixel 4a to my iPhone XS, I have to say objectively, well, the Pixel was just better. I do feel that with computational photography, the photographs within a phone can be subjective. Obviously, Samsung do some crazy over contrast and saturated photographs which really pop, and some people absolutely love that style. Pixel, I do believe, kind of go really quite down the middle. In terms of photographs, and I was comparing them, I would say the Pixel is definitely a cooler, so a more blue looking photograph, and the iPhone actually was quite warm and more orange. Down to your preference, obviously these can be edited, but out of the camera, I would say the Pixel was sharper. I really liked the angle of the focal length of the Pixel as well. I thought it encompassed just a little bit more. And in reality, when you're comparing these two devices, you have to take into the fact that the iPhone at the time was 3 times more expensive. This really is, if you are just in the market for a good phone with a good camera, you really can't beat this. The front-facing camera as well was something that was much better on the Pixel compared to my iPhone. The iPhone actually was a bit of a potato camera compared to the Pixel. It dealt much better with low light and poor lighting and actually still produced quite a sharp image. It was also much wider, which meant it was much easier, and also the AI on it as well. It also said change the position, so it's kind of hold it up higher. I thought it was really quite clever that it told you to do that to make your selfie game ace. In reality, what does this mean? Well, what it means is you can pick up this phone and confidently know that if you're taking photographs for things like social media and just traveling, that if it's food, your dog, or friends and family, this is going to be a great camera to use at least for another 2 to 3 years. So overall, my thoughts on the Pixel in terms of performance and would I recommend it? In terms of performance, I can't really compare it to something like the new iPhones that are just about to come out, which I'll be reviewing soon as well. They are for power users. If you really want the most out of a mobile device, you do have to spend upward, I would say, of £700-800, which in reality is probably going to cost you £50 to £60 a month. This is a phone, I think, for somebody who's looking to maybe just not spend that much on a phone, maybe prioritize other things. For the money, I really don't think you can complain. For £350 or quite cheap contracts out there in the UK, I really don't think there's much to go wrong with the Pixel. If you are just using it for social media browsing, connecting with friends, and the occasional photographs and few videos, there really isn't many better options than the Pixel 4a. If I was in the market for an Android device and just wanted to pick one up, I'd be really impressed and really happy collecting this. Some of the benefits of using Android over iOS is things like Xbox Game Pass is something you can use on this. Having that subscription service means you get past the performance issues and you're basically just running an Xbox on your phone if you're into gaming. I could go on, but I am honestly very impressed by what Google have been able to produce. I don't think the Pixel lineup gets the biggest exposure in the UK in terms of marketing, and I do think that if you are in the market for a cheaper phone this year, this could be your guy. So if you did enjoy this video, remember you can like, comment and subscribe as well. I really hope you enjoyed the video and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.